All right, number 13, solve the system by substitution or elimination. And I think because we used substitution with number 12, why don't we use elimination with number 13? And we know that when we are going to use elimination, we have to take a look at our system of equations and decide whether or not we want to eliminate the x first, or do we want to eliminate the y first. And I think in this case, it will be easier to eliminate the x first, because all we have to do is manipulate one of the two equations, versus if we chose to eliminate the y, we would have to multiply both of our equations by some number in order to get the y's to cancel. And we recall, hopefully, that when we are going to eliminate a variable, we want the coefficient in front of that variable to be the same number, except we want opposite signs. So for example, here in number 13, we've been given x plus 8y equals negative 4, and in our second equation we've been given 2x plus 7y equals 1. And because we want to eliminate the x's, like I said, we want the same number in front of the x, except for one of the equations we want a positive, one of the equations we want a negative. That's also known as additive inverses. That's what we want in order for the variable to cancel. So if we have a positive 2x here, and I want the x's to cancel, well then I must have to have a negative 2x here. Well, how can I get a negative 2x to appear in front of this x value? Well, let's go ahead and multiply this whole first equation by negative 2. And when we multiply the whole equation by negative 2, we're going to go ahead and distribute just like we normally do. So what we're going to end up with is now negative 2x. Negative 2 times positive 8y will now be negative 16y. And negative 2 times negative 4 will give us a positive 8. Now we can see that the x's have the same coefficient in front, except one is negative, one is positive. And when we add these together, positive 2x minus 2x, well, that just goes away. So we've now eliminated the x's. And let's go ahead and see what happens with our y's. Well, positive 7y minus 16y is going to give us negative 9y. And that equals 1 plus 8 gives us 9. And solving for y, we'll go ahead and divide by 9 on both sides. And that leaves us with y equals negative 1. And now that we've solved for y, we have a real value for y. We can go ahead and take this value and plug it back into one of the original equations. Doesn't matter which one you want to use. You can go ahead and choose either. You'll get the same answer. Or, of course, you could use the manipulated equation here. When we multiplied by negative 2, you could certainly use that one if you wanted to. But I think I'm going to use equation number 1. I think looks probably the easiest of all three equations that we have here. So x plus 8, and now we're going to take out that y, put in a negative 1, equals negative 4. So x, and now let's go ahead and distribute this positive 8 through. So positive 8 times negative 1 will give us negative 8 equals negative 4. And finally here we'll add 8 to both sides to solve for x. So x equals, well, negative 4 plus 8 gives us a positive 4. And now we've solved for both x and y, and we're going to go ahead and write our solution as an ordered pair just like before. And this, again, just like number 12, is a question on your final that you can check yourself, meaning you can take your solution for negative 1, plug this solution back into each of your original equations, and you should end up with a true statement. So let's go ahead and test that, at least for the first equation, to make sure that we're on the right track here. So x plus 8y equals negative 4. Well, let's see what happens. X, so 4 plus 8, and now we're going to plug in negative 1 equals negative 4. Well, let's see, 4 minus 8 equals negative 4. 4 minus 8 is negative 4 equals negative 4. Does negative 4 equal negative 4? It sure does. That's a true statement. And so our solution works for the first equation. If we were to take it, plug it into equation number 2, we would also see that it works. and so therefore we know definitively that we have the correct answer for number 13. So again, on your final, you can go ahead and check yourself on a lot of these questions, and I'm going to do my best to remember as we go through this final practice exam to let you know which types of questions you can check yourself on. Number 12 was one of them. Number 13, the one we're looking at, is of course one of them. And so that's what you want to be doing on your final. Go ahead and check yourself. And if you find that, oh, my solution doesn't work for the system, it doesn't work for one of these equations, then perhaps you made a little sign error somewhere. Go back and take a look at your work, see what happened, because you should be getting the right answers, and your solution does have to work for both in order to be a solution for the whole system. All right, so at any rate, number 13, our solution was 4, -1. All right, I'll see you at number 14.